sustainability. And today I'm going to tell you what environmental sustainability is and how it all starts with us. And here you have the slides. Oh. Alright, so environmental sustainability. The topic itself is so broad, and you can always look up the definition in Google and other websites. But what is environmental sustainability in its essence? For me, it's just simply looking out of the window, seeing the nature and seeing the scenery, this beautiful scenery in front of you, knowing that it will stay like that, knowing that the young generation, the children after us, can see the same exact view and have a world that they can ideally live on. Environmental sustainability is like that, but because of our current modern era, where we live extremely comfortably with all of our gadgets, technology, we fail to recognize how every single one of our actions have an effect, have a cost to the environment. And this is not just talking about simple materials or simple issues, such as the use of single plastic waste, papers or tissues. This is everything. Everything that we see and everything that we use in front of us right now has a cost to the environment. For example, ladies and gentlemen, the chairs you're currently sitting on, do you realize that the cotton used to create those chairs is grown from an agricultural plant that could possibly be currently worsening and struggling due to climate change? The plastic that is used to create those chairs create greenhouse gas emissions that is only making the climate change situation worse. The metals used to create the stands one day will be depleted from the earth because of our current actions. That is environmental sustainability, and that is the issues humanity, not just us, not just Indonesia, humanity as a global scale is currently facing right now. How everything, just like how we buy everything with money, everything has a cost to the environment around us. And when we talk about environmental issues, we are not just talking about pollution, land, air pollution, or the current situation in TPA Bekasi. This photo from February 2023. Can you see how the trash is now like a mountain? It's like a hill. This is not just happening in Indonesia. This is happening all around the world. And can you imagine the health hazards this may cause to the local neighboring societies? And not just far-fetched, climate change is also one of the global scale issues we're currently facing today. This chart shows how our Earth global temperatures have been rising and even skyrocketing since the past. Climate change is not just an issue right now. It's been all the way from 2010, even 2000, reaching a record high in 2016. And also because of climate change, our global temperature rises, which causes glaciers in the North Pole and Antarctica to actually shrink in size. And due to this, it's actually also causing our ocean levels to rise. So can you imagine on how just one simple climate change can cause this much domino effect to our environment and to our society? Can you see the scale here? And also, not even from data and statistics, I can show how much I want. I can even calculate the math behind it. But just look around you. Currently in Jakarta, our air pollution is really worsening to the point where even the primary children had to stay inside their classes because of how it poses as a health hazard for all of us. This photo shows the changes in our air pollution situation just a little over a year. One from May 2023 currently, and one from January 2022. In the exact same place, maybe shot from different angles, but just see the difference. Now, all we see is just smog. It's all air pollution, it's all gray. But back then, we can actually still see blue skies, clouds. We still have rain. Now, we haven't even rained since like 2 to 3 months now. And also, one issue that even though you might not be actually experiencing it, climate change is still all around us. In here is a photo of in an area in North Jakarta in December 2017. Do you know that Jakarta is currently sinking? As seen from this photo, you can see how a mosque, such a holy and religious site for prayer, is currently being engulfed in water, seawater specifically. And then behind the background over there, walls built by our government to actually stop and reduce the cost of this issue, to actually delay the inevitable. Because climate change is real. Even though we feel it, even though we cannot feel it, it's there, and what should we do about it? And also extra grass, as you can see, this is from CNN, per year in those areas dotted by green and yellow, seawater is actually causing them to sink. The seawater rises by about 5 centimeters. 5 centimeters, like this much. Can you imagine what is happening to those local communities? Local communities happening all around us. Even though we may not be experiencing it, trust me and trust statistics. Statistics don't lie. Climate change is real and it is undisputable. Also, from BBC, and just don't take it from me. Take it from the UN Secretary General himself. In an international address to the press on March 20 of 2023, still quite very recent, he said in his own words that we are nearing the point of no return, that we are at the tip of the tipping point, and we must do something before it's too late. Here, he says that it's not too late, but we are literally at the climax of our generation, at the point of no return, that if things go the way they are, we may not recover from it. Humanity will be in danger. And this is further supported by scientific evidence, this one from The Guardian, on how our worldwide scientists have been trying to warn us, warn our world leaders, that this climate change issue has been so serious in the past. This one was from 2020, I believe. And also this one, a forum of international scientists, clearly stating how climate change and environmental issues is a threat to humanity in itself. And not just talking about climate change and how it affects the environment, how it's all becoming dirty or more hot, but increased climate change means that there will be more natural disasters, more fires, more tsunamis, more earthquakes, and when they do happen, it's gonna just increase in severity. Our agriculture is being threatened right now because of the high climates, and this may pose a threat to also our global food supply in the future. And also from the environmental issues, it's causing social and economic issues, as previously raised by the speakers, on how in the end our resources will be depleted, healthcare is at risk, and maybe there will be more wars in the future just to fight for the leftover scraps of resources that the earth has to offer. So, how do we mitigate climate change? Definitely we cannot stop it, because if we want to stop it, then the solution is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. Just go back to the pre-industrial era. Stop all factories, stop all cars, but then again, that's not possible because of how our modern generation has fully relied heavily on these technologies. So at least, how do we reduce climate change? How do we lessen the blows that we get, the adverse impacts that climate change has given to humanity? And by doing so, we are also answering the questions, how do we achieve environmental sustainability? And well, environmental sustainability itself, also not simple. There are very many external factors involved. But to put it simply, there are 4 simple aspects in the world. There's nature, there is governance, there's economy, then there's the people. And by knowing that nature is at risk, the answer, the solution lies in the other 3 aspects. So firstly, we have economy. To achieve environmental sustainability, it requires sufficient monetary funds. It requires logistics, infrastructure, transportation in our economy and in our society to actually start sustainable development. And then it also lies in the awareness, the readiness for the society to change, to cope and understand these challenges in the future. And also the governance, how our local government is starting to pose regulations, policies on climate change. And obviously also, international politics is also on the table on how countries need to work together to actually achieve climate change, to actually achieve environmental sustainability, to fight climate change. So, we know that climate change is real. We know that it is currently happening. And even though you may think that we are powerless in the face of these odds, on how we are just maybe students, just regular workers, we're not in a position of power like a government or some sort of CEO in climate change is not gonna say, hold on, I'm waiting for you to take action. We must do something. So how do we do it? How can we actually start? Why not we take an example from Greta Thunberg? For those familiar with her story, um, and for those who don't, I'll give a short recap. Greta Thunberg is a currently 20-year-old from Sweden, and she is incredibly famed. At the age of 15, she was protesting in front of the Swedish government on Fridays. She intentionally skips school on every Friday to protest for climate action. And now, look where she is. Most recently, she was arrested for protesting an oil conference. But most recently also, she led tens of thousands of students in 150 countries around the world to protest together every Friday for climate change. Can you see how this not small, so 20-year-old teen, she started it all at the age of 15 with one simple act of just convincing her family and her parents of creating a more greener lifestyle for their household. And now, look where she is. At 2019, she even had the courage to say, "How dare you," mocking and criticizing world leaders in front of her face to advocate for climate change. And do you see how the power of youth is so powerful? Because this is also deeply intertwined in our Indonesian history, ladies and gentlemen. Do you still remember our PPKM class, where our teacher taught us about the peristiwa Redang Senglok? Regang Senglok. Rengga Senglok, sorry, a bit blurred here. So basically, this happened way back in 16th of August 1945. This is how our Indonesian Independence Day is actually 17th August 1945. Because a group of youth, a group of pemuda, basically like teens and young adults back then, they actually kidnapped Indonesia's founding fathers, Sukarno and Hatta, to convince them to start taking action and declare Indonesia's independence. Can you see the power of the youth here? How the youth holds the power to change. Even when the current adult generation did not have the initiative, the youth are the one that compelled them to change and start to take action. This just shows how even students right now, we hold so much potential within us to actually strive for change. And not just to the students, but adults. Aren't you inspired by how the youth are starting to take actions for themselves? At a glance, you may see them as teenagers, and in another, you see them as youth advocates, as the future potential leaders of our society, of our world. And so, we must take action together to actually solve this issue. Because all it takes is just a single amount of courage, just a small piece of courage and conviction within us to start to take action. Then we need to fully dedicate ourselves for the cause. And no act is too small. Again, from Greta Thunberg's example, she started small. She just started to persuade her parents for a green lifestyle. And now she's rallying tens of thousands of students. It just shows how every act for change really, really matters. And you can start by simply researching, advocating, telling others about climate change, or maybe also start a green lifestyle. Start to be vegetarian on every Fridays or Thursdays. Start to reduce water consumption. Start to plant trees. And all the other ways, you can just research and Google it yourselves. It's all just one click away in your phones. And once you're done with the small step, why not take a bigger leap? Why not create more change for the sake of ourselves and for the younger generation? For students, this can be your essay, this can be your task. For the other adults, this can just simply finding an environmental issue that you wish to solve in your neighborhood. Then you can start volunteering, you can start initiatives, you can start advocacy events like our TEDx team right now. Or even take a step further and create your own organization just for climate change. And here are some known NGOs famed, not only in Indonesia but also globally, on how volunteers there dedicate their lives, their time, their effort, and their money to actually fight for climate action. This is not just happening in Indonesia, this is worldwide. That people are starting to be aware to actually not be afraid